Hello, internets. Good evening.
Greetings,
Welcome to the show. We are here.
salutations, and felicitations.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Where
Okay.
else are you going to be on a Thursday night?
Exactly. So we are live. Hope you guys are digging. I'm just putting out some, throwing our link up in a few Discords. And then we will get things going. But it's good to have everybody here. How you doing, JP?
We'll get into that in a little bit here.
We got
I may, I
stuffs.
may, I'm making some decisions here.
Uh-oh. Oh, and making decisions. We don't allow
Yeah,
that, sir. Um,
I know.
yeah, let's see here.
Uh,
I think that's
get
all I'm going to
these
put us into.
notifications out and about.
Oh, all right. Well, that'll be fun. Okay, so let me open that area. And hope you guys are doing well. Hope everybody's digging it. Pull up the dashboard. Doing it this way through Restream, I lose my dashboard, which really does anger me because I like my dashboard. I like being able to see certain things. Um, but it is what it is. Why is it saying offline? Why are we showing offline? This should be going live, right? Let me see if we're on. Because I did a scheduled event this time for once. So. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So new comments are going to display there. So we should be going on YouTube's and the Facebooks. It's just a new way of doing this. So forgive me, guys, for how unprofessional this part is. Because, we're kind of. But I'm trying something new here because I really wanted it to just go through easier. Your Father's Trek Cast. Your Father's Trek Podcast, yes. And it's saying we're live. Are we live? I don't know if we're live. Checking the YouTubes now. Not getting anything on the YouTubes. That could be my phone, too.
Well, let me check my phone.
Yeah, check your phone real quick. All right, so we are live on the Facebook. I see that. You know what? I'll open YouTube. Oh, there's a view on YouTube. All right, so there it is on YouTube. And it might be going through the mains, so that would be funny. All right, I think we're good. So we are live. Okay, everybody. Sorry
live.
about that. Again, just wanted to be sure we had you guys all sorts of set up here. So we have got a great show tonight. We're definitely this was they made up for last week. I'm just spoiler alert. Totally made up for last week. So I'm very excited for that. All right, so you've checked the doc over, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Doc looks good to me too. Let me pull up my mix pad so I can record. Get a level check on.
Mr. Worf, open hailing frequency.
Good. Yeah. I love Mixpad. If anybody out there doing podcasting, I love Mixpad because I have it does multi-track at once. So I can have my Yeti microphone as a channel, and then I have the soundboard output, like my little Stream Deck here, as a channel. So it lets me mix those later if things don't work. So highly recommend it if you do multiple channels. Alrighty. So I think we are good to go. Let's see what's going on here.
Get my heating pad on here.
Well, that would be good. Yeah, I highly recommend heating pads. Yeah, you know what? You know what I don't like about this is I can't see how many people are watching. Okay, so we have two. Oh, I found out where to look for that now. Okay, good. All right. Oh, all right. That's cool. All right. Rock and roll. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this thing going then. Got to remember to call it Your Father's Trek Podcast. I'm still relearning that. I don't know that I'll steer into the podcast bit. I got no feedback on it, but, I could see how that could get annoying after a while.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we had our fun with it.
we did have our fun with it. So, all right. Eventually, it just becomes petty. So,
Right.
All righty.
Pettier than Tom.
Oh, wow. Considering he's gone.
Well.
Yeah, his music's still alive.
Okay. Pettier than Lori?
She's also gone for all intents and purposes, which I'm okay with. No. Let's face it, not the greatest actress. All right. You got your red button?
Yeah, I got my red button. I was going to say
Okay.
Richard's even gone longer than that.
Right. All right, so I'm going to start recording the video first, and then we'll do the countdown. Because what I do is I do take a recording of the video and throw that up on the YouTube. So, because this goes in a different area of the thing altogether. All right, so I'm going to hit the little record button inside OBS, and then we'll count down. All right, so recording now. All right, let's do the countdown. 3, 2, 1, click.
Lick.
This week on Your Father's Trek podcast, Will and JP are going to talk all about Picard Season 3, Episode 6. We're also going to go into some serious speculation, which we have a ton of to go through, and a whole lot more. Do not go away. We'll be right back after this really cool new intro music. Podcasting. That ritual performed by middle-aged men seeking broadcast validation in the internet age. What you are about to listen to is two longtime fans break down concepts and ideas of all Star Trek media. We will inform, we will entertain, because we are Your Father's Trek Podcast. Starring Will as the Old Man Gamer and JP as, well, JP. Talking about new episodes of Star Trek, old episodes of Star Trek comic books, Star Trek video games, Star Trek the Flamethrower, and anything else they feel like, because hey, it's their cast. So sit back, relax, have a beverage of choice. Unless you're driving, then for God's sake, pay attention to the road. Here are Will and JP talking Trek.
Mr. Worf, open hailing frequency.
Greetings, salutations, welcome to Your Father's Trek podcast, and I am your host, Will, joined as always by my... I don't want to call you first officer, but I'm going to do it anyway. My first officer, JP, how are you tonight, sir?
Hello. I am at a decision point in my life. I've decided that I'm tired of my shoulder hurting, so tomorrow I will be going to the orthopedic urgent care to see what exactly is wrong with me. Well, but then again, what's right with me would be the shorter list.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I was going to bring that up because I know we kind of steer into the fact that we're middle-aged men, but if every week your haps just happens to be how bad your shoulder is, I'm pretty sure they're going to wonder why we're not your grandfather's Trek podcast.
Well, I mean, give me a few years, still working on it.
But so you got to get that looked at. You got to take care of yourself. I don't go to the doctor ever. I'm like the single income for my family. So it's like for me to go to the doctor, I'm always worried they're going to find something that's going to keep me out of work. So I'm just like, you know what? If I can walk it off, I'm going to walk it off. Not exactly the best way to go. Don't get me wrong. That's not really good for long term. But
it's especially difficult to walk it off when you blow out a meniscus.
Wow, you're just going to drag the entire show down, aren't you? Anything else you want to talk to us about? Your horrible, any other thing?
No, I think I've done enough damage as is.
Okay. Well, no, I'm only kidding. But yeah, it's I'll tell you, it's been pretty fantastic for me here. We had a pretty good week. Tons of stuff going on. The biggest news is we got a call today. My wife's ex-husband is actually, he's been getting, I don't want to go into too much of his health stuff, but he's been getting dialysis now for about 5 or 6 years. 3 times a week. He had some issues with his kidney. And so, and at one point, thank God for medical advancements, because when I first came into the family, we were told, like, this guy would not see 50. So he's in right now. That he was going in tonight. They called him this morning and they found a kidney. So after 5 years of 3 times a week dialysis, he's going in, he's getting a kidney. So, good thoughts and prayers or whatever to Nick. He's the father of my kids, and, I'm keeping good thoughts for him. We have a really good relationship, so it's not even remotely, adversarial. But I'm very excited for him because, imagine having to go to dialysis 3 times a week. He's been on disability. He hasn't been able to work. He's kind of okay with that on many levels, but, but he's, you don't want to live your life like that. Like, he has to go on vacation and you have to think about where you're going to find a place to go get it done. So very excited for him. It's not a perfect quote unquote situation. There are some complications that could arise, but it's better than what he's got. So he's taking a shot, and I for one couldn't be more excited for him. Other than that, dude, it's been just one crazy work is nuts. I'm an onboarding engineer for an MSP, a managed service provider. And we are onboarding like 5 clients at once right now. And so my day is just overwhelmingly overwhelming. And I'm working almost 6 days a week pretty much. I didn't work last weekend, but I've worked every weekend for the last month or so, like at least 3-4 hours on a Saturday. So I'm kind of just, to have that. But I'm looking forward to kind of things slowing down. The spring's kind of hitting, it's kind of time to hang out, Oh, can't play that too long though. But I'm very excited to kind of to chill, so but everything else is going really, really well. We've got a really good show tonight. Obviously we're going to talk Picard episode 6, season 3, Bounty. We're going to go through a recap. We're going to try to do it like we did last week. We'll try not to go into the weeds too much. I'm going to warn you, though. There's so much in this episode. It's a very real possibility. You may need to take a longer way to work today if you're listening in the car. Because, there is some things to unpack here. We probably won't, but
yes,
we'll try. And then we're obviously, that's in our main topic in Energize. Then during Beam Me Up, we'll do speculation. We've got 4 topics there, if not more, that might pop up. Got your companion watches, episodes that you're going to want to check out. And then we'll talk a little bit of news if we have time. But that seems like about it. Unless you've got anything else, we might as well energize and get down there and get started.
Let's get this going.
All righty.
Engage. No, don't engage. Energize. That's what we say in this room.
All right, season 3, episode 6 of Picard, called The Bounty. Or Bounty, not The Bounty.
No, it is The Bounty.
Was it The Bounty? I thought it was just Bounty.
Yes.
All right.
The Bounty.
Okay, cool. And wow. And again, I kind of expected that this is kind of how it was going to go after last week. You could tell last week was one, we talked about it. It was 100% a shifting. They were ending kind of like, the trilogy or quadrilogy that they had of the first 4 episodes, and they kind of wanted to move everybody into this position so that they could start going downhill for the finale.
Right.
I loved it. It was it was direct. Dan Liu's directing was really good. I thought it was written very well. It had everything you wanted to see. It had almost all of. Well, I think we've now seen all 7, right? There's no one left. They're not, unless
Correct.
They do a surprise Wesley, but right? Or Yar. There's a possibility. Denise Crosby still gets
there's
a talk.
possibilities. We'll talk about that later.
Okay, but definitely, So we've seen the main crew now. There's nobody we're looking for. Jodie Watch is officially ended. We also got Spiner and his data. And we'll talk about that as well. But I mean, just, bird's eye, dude. What are your thoughts on this episode?
Yeah, I was ready for the roller coaster. I was whee, hands up in the air.
Yeah. So me too. I thought it was incredibly well done. I was not prepared for the joy feelings I would get every time somebody beamed up. There were 2 instances of reunions in the transporter room, and both times were exactly what you wanted. It was really, really well done. Again, hats off to Christopher Monfetex for the writing and all that. These guys are now on autopilot. They've found their characters again, and you can see it all the way through. Again, Michael Dorn's voice, a little bit of a bother for me. I miss that Worf rumble, but otherwise, so much great stuff. So, I mean, the episode really does kind of it deals with it from a bird's eye perspective. What's happening is that now that they've been told by Rolaren what to do, where to go, they're trying to decide how best to handle that. And again, it comes up that they need to go to Daystrom. And so they're trying to figure out how to do it. And by the way, did you happen to? Well, we'll talk about that, but I'm gonna give myself a pat on the back here in a little bit, just so you know. So they're sitting there, they're meeting, and they're like, okay, well, we have to go to Daystrom. We have to figure out what was taken. And we get, they get the word that they've arrived. But the episode also opened with something else pretty important, and we will talk about in speculation. But the episode kind of opened with Picard and Beverly talking about Jack. Mm-hmm. And, we find out that Beverly has tried to diagnose Jack. She's got a brain scan up, and she's like, here. He's seeing things. It's Irumodic syndrome. And
which is what Picard
had, which we didn't know about until the last episode of the final season.
Well, that's when they introduced it.
Yeah. So, and that was, how do I put this? Yeah, I got issues with that. It's the only thing where I was like, okay, nah, I'm not buying it. But they do that, and they have this really great scene with Picard and Jack in 10 Forward again, because apparently nobody wants to use the holodeck to, go skiing. They're just, right. And so they're there, and it was a pretty real and cool conversation. Picard's like, hey, I lived with it for decades, and he's like, well, how'd you beat it? And Picard's like, I didn't. And Jack reminds him, he's like, oh yeah, robot body, which again was, I think, the whole point of the conversation was Matalis again wanted to remind us Picard has a robot body, and that will come back later.
I want to digress for just a second here. Jack is always in the holodeck drinking.
Yes, good man.
Where did he get the supply from, or is he drinking the synthahol that they always have, but he chooses never to get rid of the effects?
Picard had whiskey somewhere. He's like, this is Guinan special thing. And they never talk about how you get drunk on the holodeck and how it goes away after you, like, okay, so you drink alcohol on the holodeck, and if it's, a hologram, but it has all the consistency of it, it should impact your brain the same way. But then when you leave the holodeck, does the holographic alcohol dissipate like immediately, like everything else? Which would be freaking awesome. I'd be like, man, I'm gonna get sick. Hold on a second. Hold on. Arch. All right, I'm good. Let's go.
How many birthday cakes can you eat in the holodeck and not get full?
Right. Those are the questions that they never talk about because,
because they don't have time.
Well, when they first introduced the holodeck, and I always love the idea of this, the holodeck was like, it was a bunch. They were like, it's a bunch of energy fields, and then they put images on top of it. They project an image on top of like an energy field, so it can have weight and mass, but it was like a shield, and then all of a sudden it turning into like matter and like crazy stuff here. So, I don't know. I don't care. I don't really care. He's in there drinking, and I understand why he's drinking. He apparently has gotten an explanation for what's going on. I don't think it's correct. But then, they're, like I said, they have the meeting, they decide to do the Daystrom thing, and then they get told by Seven that they've arrived. And we get our first reunion. They're in the transporter room, and all of a sudden, Worf and Rafi beam in. Frakes and Dorn still have timing. Yes. And Frakes fell right into rhythm with him. Dorn fell right into his rhythm, and everything starts triggering. I did forget a scene at the very beginning, and that was Vadic shooting off one of her, killing one of her, one of her people, because he was basically like telling her, "Why are we doing this? This is stupid." Blah blah blah, and she just kills him.
I wrote this down. She yearns for four things.
Yes.
Silence, unity, peace, and vengeance.
Yes. And again, now you hired Amanda Plummer. You're getting Amanda Plummer, but this is an Amanda Plummer I haven't seen in a long time. She has grabbed her father's gravitas that Christopher Plummer had in the role of Kang. No, not Kang. Chang. And in Star Trek VI, she grabbed his gravitas and then amped it by 50. I mean, I at one point thought she was going to eat the throne she sits on. So, I mean, she was just, and it was great because it's exactly what you want out of a Star Trek villain. You want them to be larger than life. You want them to go Bond villain on you and start ranting and raving for no reason whatsoever. And the fact that the other changelings are kind of calling her on it was kind of fantastic. Like,
yes.
He was basically like, you're out of control. What the hell is your problem? And she shoots him. It's really, really, she's becoming more and more interesting as the weeks go on.
Yes.
So back to like the reunion, Rafi and Worf get there and they finish their debriefing, and they decide they're going to go to Daystrom and they're going to basically, it's going to be a heist show now. We're going to do the heist thing. We're going to Daystrom. We're going to have a heist. And so they make a small
Star
away
Trek 11.
Yeah, they make a small away team consisting of Worf, Riker, and Rafi, which we'll talk about. No. I loved that. Yeah.
Can we jump back and say who almost was a part of the team?
Who?
Seven was almost part of the team,
right.
And there was an awkward Rafi Seven scene with Worf there.
And Worf kind of calls him on it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm hoping we get Worf Deanna, because we haven't seen them together since, and I hope they kind of address it because they never addressed it in the movies, like that they were even remotely uncomfortable. Like I'd love it if Worf was like, I had to leave the ship and go to like a dungy space station because of you. Yeah, like anyway.
Although he did find Dax there. So
yeah, he did.
There's that.
Yeah, and so. They kind of, the Rafi and Seven stuff, I love that they underplayed it. I think you said more by underplaying that whole thing than overplaying it. By having, Matalas, sometimes he gets a little too expository and like, I'm going to tell instead of show. The writer here, again, he really did good work as far as showing. He showed that, yes, we are aware they had a relationship. No, it is not germane to this situation. We may deal with it later. Who knows? It might be in a book. Whatever. The whole thing with Worf. Worf is cracking jokes, which is just hysterical to me. Because it's not something he would normally do. I mean, he would, but he would do it in a very
Klingon way.
Yeah. The fact he's like, I've embraced pacifism. It's like... and of course he hasn't. We've seen him kill like 900,000 people since the start of the show. But, they're going to go to Daystrom. So the three of them beam off, and they land in this like, welcome area, and almost immediately things go sideways. They get prompted for authentication. They're going to put the key in to the system. Worf puts it in, which I was like, why is Worf doing this? Like, Rafi, you are far more like technologically. Like at one point, Worf looks behind him like this one, like this is how I'm doing it. And she's like, yes. I'm like, wasn't one of you an engineer?
You do it in the first place?
I'm like, wasn't one of you an engineer at one point? Like, she does. So they get it in there, and we get our first hint of what I'm going to call Will's an effing genius, because the voice that is speaking at them modulates, and then did you catch that it modulated to Data a little bit?
I did.
Yeah, I was like, I'm getting ready, man. I'm starting to raise my hands just a little. Like, I don't want the side churn. They may churn away, but I think I'm right. And
we both have it though.
Yeah.
We both have it.
They were sitting. Well, I thought you said you weren't sure. Like, I was like, I'm pretty sure that Data is going to be the AI.
I would say 90%.
I'm gonna go to the tape on this. I'm gonna find that. No, I'm just kidding. But no. So
tape?
Yeah, absolutely. So they are, so they get through the first huddle, and almost immediately on the outside of the ship, 3 Starfleet vessels warp in. Earlier we had seen them trying to chase them. The Titan had been dropping buoys to kind of fool them. But here they are at Daystrom. They've been there for a little bit, and all of a sudden 3 very cool and not the same class as the 20,000 they used for the end of season 1. We see 3 very distinct classes of starship warp in. And basically, the Titan has to leave. They're like, they have this new tracking laser. They have this new tracking phaser where if they hit us, they'll follow us anywhere we go. Which I was like, oh, that's interesting. So they have to warp away, leaving the away team on the station. And so they warp away. Our away team comes out, and this is where we get our first evidence of incredible fan service by the writers and production staff.
Oh yes.
The Daystrom Institute, the Daystrom, whatever they're calling it,
station.
Daystrom Station, is full of nothing more. Is full of nothing but like nods and things to former stuff. Like at one point, I mean, they're walking through there, and there is one thing in there that I didn't recognize, and then I did on the second watch. They are walking through, and they're seeing various trinkets and things from past Star Trek episodes and movies. The biggest one that I loved was the mock-up, or the what do they call it? The Genesis Device 2.0.
Yes.
I'm like, you father muckers, you went back to the well? And now I'm sitting here going, and now I'm kind of wondering why the hell the changelings didn't grab that. Like, you want to stop Earth? Launch it at Earth.
Yeah. Very much so.
Like, you left a Genesis device. So, I mean, but that was cool. There was a tack triple, they call it.
Yes.
And again,
that
Worf
was awesome.
The Worf has the exact response, and the Worf's like, I see you use humor to, offset your own issues, and, use others' issues to humor yourself or something, and find humors in others' issues. And I'm just sitting there, and Worf just says what I'm thinking. He's like, you used to push back.
And Riker even says that at one point.
Yeah, he did. And I mean, that was just good. There was some really great stuff in there. And then, Worf says that Section 31, or Daystrom, is to contain all of Section 31's most nefarious table scraps. That all this stuff in here is that. Now, we'll talk again in speculation about one of the things, because it could very well be who we're dealing with or who we're going to see before the end. I'm not sure if you caught it, but there was an Easter egg there that I think is going to be important. Either that, or it is just a really cool kind of nod. Anyway, so they go through there. They're getting through, and we see the AI identifies Riker, pulls up an old picture of him from like Nemesis days, and then, he's like, it's going to deploy, I forget what it says, but basically like it's going to stop him. And so the AI immediately makes a crow. And that's the first time we start to get the idea that maybe something's up here. The crow shows up. He's like, a holographic crow? What the hell? What is this?
What's scary about that?
What's scary about that? But you can see that Riker is starting to put it together. Like even there. And then we start hearing music. And Riker, who is an accomplished musician, but I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm glad he did that because I was able to kind of start piecing the melody together too because I'm a musician. But
Right.
it takes I've never known Riker to have perfect pitch.
Yeah, no, he did. He definitely did not.
Yeah, well, no, meaning just perfect pitch is not like that you're always perfect, but perfect pitch is one of those things where you can hear a tone and go, oh, that's a C flat. Oh, that's a G major. That's actually a very hard thing to learn.
Yes.
It's actually, there's some thought in music circles that, it's not a learned thing. It's actually more of a talent. It's actually something you're innately born with. If you have perfect pitch, you can learn to almost have it. But, Riker he's naming notes, which I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to let it go because you're in Starfleet. You became a captain. You're somewhat intelligent. You might have a lot of talents. You're obviously musically gifted in some regards as far as the trombone goes. Okay, I'll let it go. But he starts naming the notes, and then we get the AI identifies Worf again. And all of a sudden, they play a couple of notes, and then a hologram shows up, and we get Daniel Davis as Professor Moriarty. That was cool.
Boom.
I loved seeing him.
Even though we had that in the teaser trailer,
it's
awesome.
still great. It is definitely a gift for fans. I don't know that I would. I think they blew their wad putting it in the trailer. I think they should have kept that secret because unless Daniel Davis was like, oh, and I want to be in the trailer. Like, I'll do this. I'll come in for scale, but I want to be in the trailer. Or I think Metalis just couldn't wait. Like like sometimes you have such a great gift for somebody, you're like, I can't wait to give this to you. I'm just gonna let you know. And it was cool. He says, I think, therefore I am. And he's sitting there, he's firing real bullets, which again, I was kind of like, okay, but you can't hit him. Okay. And they start to do that. And then Riker, they play 3 notes. And the minute they played those 3 notes, I'm like, oh, I know what this is. And Riker immediately too, he goes to the flashback from all the way back from Encounter at Farpoint. We see him walking through the holodeck, falling on the rock almost. And Data is whistling Pop Goes the Weasel. He has this memory, and he's like, and it goes it gets to the monkey chase the weasel, something Muller. You go, da-da-da-da, and Riker whistles the in key, and it was semi in key, and in key of what he was hearing, by the way.
Okay,
and Daniel Davis, I love that they wrote this. He looks up and he just goes, marvelous, and then disappears. And that's when I knew, because I just watched Farpoint about a month ago. I'm like, oh, I'm totally, and this is where I'm like, I'm getting out the bandana. I'm like, yeah. I am the best ever. You cannot fool me. I mean, it was fair. I'm like, Data's the AI. They get into the vault, and sure enough, there is the B4 head, which, by the way, is the actual head from Nemesis. They found it.
Yep, they found it.
They've got the B4 head, and then over there you see Brent Spiner standing as a flesh-colored old man Data, which I just want to call him now, Old Man Data. I loved that. I was like, this is great, fantastic. I'm like, but we don't know what he is yet. Again, we were told in trailers that was lore. So
But that wasn't wrong either. Then.
No, it wasn't. So, then they cut back to the Titan, and Picard, when they warped away, before they warped away, he's like, take us to Altair Prime or whatever it is. And Sydney is like, I don't think that's a good idea. and Picard's like, no, we're fine. Just shut up. Just do it. And so they fly there, and they take us to and Altair Prime or whatever it is has the Fleet Museum. And this is the second part of incredible fan service. And again, don't care. That's why I'm watching the show. They show up, and sure enough, the person in charge of the Fleet Museum is Commodore Jodie LaForge. Which, again, at first I thought Sydney was telling us this because, I'm thinking about LaForge's times. Every time we've seen LaForge, quote unquote, in the future, other than All Good Things, like that episode of Voyager where Harry Kim was sent back, to before Voyager left, and he's trying to get back to Voyager. They send LaForge's ship after him, and LaForge is a by-the-book captain, and so I'm sitting there going, Sydney's like, he ain't gonna go for all this, like, us being outlaws thing. Daddy gonna have some problems. And it wasn't really that at all. I was kind of glad they did it the way they did it, actually.
Yeah.
So, they get them they go to the Fleet Museum, they reach out to Geordi, and we get our second transporter room. And again, it's Crusher, it's Picard. It's no Riker, but it's Crusher and Picard. And LaForge beams aboard with his daughter, his actual daughter, Alondra, played by Mika Burton. And he's pissed. Yeah, like LaForge is showing it. He's like, Crusher walks up and he's like, just as I was, dematerializing and rematerializing, I was wondering if I was going to go for the professional handshake or the semi-uncomfortable hug. And they went for the
a little too long.
Yeah. And it was really good. Again, they're writing, LaForge, Burton has this character down. He's really, and you get a bit into what Jodie LaForge is up to. He's like, look, I've just written 3 notes to Starfleet saying bringing the entire fleet home for Frontier Day is a stupid idea. So again, that's another reason why Frontier Day is so important, is that they're bringing the entire fleet back. Right. He's like, I'm under pressure. And then he's like, he's angry at the Picard because he's like, you're putting my daughter in danger. You're ruining her career. They kind of go through this long discussion, which again, you don't expect this from Geordi. Like, it's weird because in All Good Things, I mean, he still called him Captain. He never really, nobody ever referred to him as Jean-Luc except Beverly and Will. I gotta admit, it felt a little strange to have Burton. And granted, he's a Commodore. I think he even outranks an Admiral. Like, so it makes sense, but still, like, calling him, he would keep referring to him as Jean-Luc, and I'm sitting there going, ooh, that stings every time. It just feels weird coming out of your mouth. And
I think he did it in All Good Things.
Not really. No, he called it, remember, he's walking up, he's like, Captain, the warp. He's like, I haven't been captain for some long. He had to be told to call him Jean-Luc, remember?
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
So, again, it felt awkward a little, but again, not unnatural. And it could be that, it could be that LeVar Burton was like, look, we're old men. And, I've had some accomplishments and I should be able to call this man, granted he's my senior, but, we're more on equal footing now. And I agree with that. So, it went really well. This episode really did seem to deal a lot with fathers, sons. Like, the whole show is really dealing with legacy. We talked about that last week.
Right.
Yeah, but in any event.
And then Jack and Sydney have a bonding moment over their bad dads.
Yes. Well, while their dads are talking. So, that comes a little bit later. So basically Picard's like, look, we need your help. And while they're talking on the bridge, you've got Jack and Seven. And again, fan service. And again, all about it. You've got Seven for some reason who has control of, like apparently when you go to this space stock place, they will, give you a panel on your ship with the ships you need to see. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. Because she's pushing buttons and they're kind of going through like the ships that are there. And again, it's just a visit. There were some really great things about this. I love the fact that a lot of the time they used the soundtrack from like where it was. So they were dropping little pieces of, and they've been doing this all along. Every time Worf goes into a fight, you hear that like the Klingon theme. Mm-hmm. But they were dropping little tidbits. You get a little bit of a Voyager theme when she shows the Voyager, and man, Jerry Ryan just nailed that entire scene. The longing she had for that.
Something else of note in this scene is Jack sits in the captain's chair.
Yeah, and she's like, no. But she let him sit for a little bit. They showed the Enterprise A, and that was really kind of great. I love the fact we get to see that again. Because for a lot of people, that's their Enterprise. I wasn't alive when the original show was on. The first Enterprise I saw, other than the reruns, was motion picture. So I love that version of Enterprise. They showed Voyager. They showed the Defiant. They showed the original, like, I forget which ship it was. It wasn't the Yorktown. It was
the four I wrote down were the Defiant. They showed the Defiant, the New Jersey,
that was
the
it,
Enterprise
the New Jersey.
A, and the Voyager.
Yeah. Right, but they also, so they're showing that. But I love the fact that they showed the New Jersey as an original constellation, and it does not look like Strange New Worlds Enterprise. I'm like, it actually looked old school. I'm like, all right, well done, because they could have done that. I'm glad they didn't, because there is something to the sleek lines of the original. Anyway, and then we get really what this whole scene was about. They then cut to a Klingon bird of prey. And Seven, and he goes, well, why a Klingon bird of prey here? She's like, that's the HMS Bounty. She's like, it was recovered from the bottom of the San Francisco Bay. He's like, oh, the whales thing, which I thought was hysterical. Great way to refer to it. And she's like, yes, but they had a hard time finding it. It took them a long time to recover. He's like, why? Because the cloaking device kicked in when they went underwater. So that gets Jack thinking. Meanwhile, Geordi is just letting Picard down in every possible way. He's like, look, I can't help you. There's nothing I can do. I'm not going to give you one of these ships. And he also gives them a little tidbit. He says, oh, by the way, he's like, I can't just give you a transponder because the minute you come within any sort of Starfleet vessel, he's like, and I fought against this as well, the computers talk to each other. And it will identify you automatically anyway, which then they're like, oh, that's how they found us.
But then that statement nullifies the opening sequence of this episode.
In a way, yes. They mentioned that it's distance related. So you can do transponder by a very far distance, but the closer you get, that's when you'll know it's not there. So, they were hitting, Daystrom is pretty much in close to Starfleet Central, like there's always ships on patrol around there. So it makes sense to me that if you warp into Daystrom and you have a Starfleet main computer, it's gonna be close enough to hit the others. That made sense to me. I can get behind that. Okay. So they're like, oh, well, that's not gonna work. And Geordi's pretty much like, I can't help you, and he's making good points. He's like, look, my kids, I can't help you without risking their lives, and I'm not willing to do that. And that is so Geordi LaForge, I don't know what to do about it. Like, I loved that. I loved it because, listen, if you watch any episodes of Next Gen, okay, first of all, they dirty dog Geordi like no business. Like, they constantly put him through the emotional ringer. He was never lucky in love. He went after a holographic girl, and when he met the real one, she found out. Like, he was after that one girl who, he went on a date, he brought like violins, and she breaks up with him right there. He was constantly just completely all thumbs. He was really, and what I think they were steering into was he's really good with equipment and engines. But when it comes to, personal relationships and making real connections with people, he's not good at it. Whether it's the visor and the fact that it impacts his sight or what, all through the show, you saw this. And so this fits right in, is that, okay, so he all those years, that's all he wanted was a family. Like, he just wanted to be loved, to love someone, and to build a family. Now he has that. And, here's his commander, his commanding officer, who he respects and loves, but no doubt he has PTSD.
Take it away, basically.
Yeah, he's got PTSD, I'm sure, from some of that stuff that went on. And he's like, I have this connection. I have it. And now you want to take that away again by having me go off on some adventure with you where I could lose both of my daughters, or they could lose me, and I could lose my wife. And, and no doubt he saw how Deanna and Riker's relationship has struggled. I just, I understand it. And it felt so much more Geordi than him being the legalistic guy we saw in Voyager. It just felt so much more like him. So I was all about it. I thought it was good. What did you think?
Yeah, he definitely hit all the right notes for, the middle-aged dad protecting the family. It was very much on point.
Right.
And
think about this too. Like, my idea as well is, I think that's also why he was always friends with Data. Like, Data was kind of another piece of equipment,
yeah.
And it just makes sense. I felt it was really, really good. To finish off this thing, so we can kind of get into stuff. So they finish it off. Basically, Jack steals the cloaking device. They put it on the ship. It almost blows everything up. Geordi gets involved. His daughter, before that, basically, he tried to get his daughter off the ship. And his daughter's like, no, I'm doing what you did years ago. This is my time. This is my family. I'm going to fight with them. And you're just going to have to... You taught me to do this. And then, so that's when Jack and Sydney and Alondra hatch the idea to go get the cloaking device. And he's like, so how do you feel about some minor larceny? They put it in play. Geordi gets it working. He's going to stay. They're going to work. They're going to take the Titan back to Daystrom to get the away team. So they basically do that. They start heading back. Meanwhile, on the Daystrom, we find a hologram from Elton Soon. I think that was his name.
Yes.
Elton, yeah. Elton Soon comes on and he starts talking about, he starts going through what happened. And he's basically saying, I wanted to make another golem, but not for me, to basically finish my grandfather's work or my father's work. And basically, he's basically saying he wants to build this golem to put in, he's like, and in it I put lore, B4, Lal, and mostly Data. And he's like hoping that they will kind of merge into some sort of super thing. He's like, I've given it the gift of aging. It's not going to be such an android. And that's kind of cool. Like, so it explains why Brent Spiner looks like, he's in his 60s, because, he's in the 60s.
Exactly.
and everything like that. So then they realized that because Data, before Lal was, Lore was the AI, they're like, the manifest isn't going to be in the computer. This is the manifest.
Yeah.
We need this. So now they're going to take Data, and so they're going to unhook Data, but they're also being hunted down by the security team from the other three ships. And basically, they realize when we unplug Data, all security's going to go offline.
Yep.
So they're going to come in here, phasers blazing. So Riker says, okay, unhook him. I got this. And again, I feel like Worf should have. I feel like Worf would have stopped him more.
Yeah.
I do, because it's not like he outranks him. He's not. Well, I guess he is an active captain. But even still, I feel like Worf would have been
that's what Worf does.
Yeah, Captain, I have to do this, or what? I am the best choice. You have a wife, or like any number of reasons. But I get why they did it. We're gonna figure out why. So Riker goes out. He starts holding him off. The Titan shows up. They cloak. They fly over. They uncloak, beam him out, fly away. We get another transporter room where Geordi is there, and they're like, yes, we lost Riker, but we have Data. Because meanwhile, Riker, while he was shooting, he got tagged with a transport inhibitor and taken captive. So Geordi sees him, and he goes, he's like, Data. So they basically, you see Will Riker start getting interrogated. He's being interrogated by 3 Starfleet officers, and one of them takes out a phaser, puts it right to his forehead, and I'm like, oh, they're not going to shoot him. And this person turns around, shoots the other 2 people in the head, kills him dead, and then turns around and morphs into Vadic. So he has been captured not by any sort of Starfleet ship. He's been captured by the Shrike. They beam up to the Shrike and they warp away. On the Titan, we get another great reunion. So they start hooking Data Lore before Lal up. We're just going to call him Data Lore. They start hooking Data. They start hooking Data up to reactivate him. A really cool moment between Sydney and Geordi, because he was going to grab the wrong tool, and she's like, no, you want to use this, don't you? And he's like, yes.
Yeah.
And she's like, why do you think I always crashed everything? I wanted to be around when you fixed it. Just really great stuff. I mean, he has chemistry with his daughter, obviously, but I'm glad they grabbed an actress too who he could actually also have some chemistry with.
Now we've also missed that Shaw fanboys over Geordi hardcore.
Yeah, he does, and that was kind of great. Yeah, so Shaw is like, he hates Riker and Picard, but for some reason Geordi's his like favorite person ever.
He's an engineer.
Yes. So they get Data ready, and again they tell him like, he's Data, but he has a lot of other stuff. They power him up, and at first Data comes back, and it was really cool because he looks at Geordi and he goes, Geordi? And then he looks at Picard, and I'm like, okay, this is where you get me. If you do this right, you've got me. He goes, Captain? Not Admiral. I was like, yes. Because if he had said Admiral, I'd been like, wait, what? He recognizes everybody. They start talking to him, and then his personality shifts, and, he's kind of struggling. And he's answering questions. He answers their question. He's like, what was the thing that they took? And he goes, Jean-Luc Picard. It's like, yes, I'm Jean-Luc Picard. It's like, Jean-Luc Picard. Yeah. And then he switches again. And again, you see Brent Spiner get that grin, and his whole demeanor changes. And he goes, I'm Lore. And then you see him kind of shift again, and he goes, I'm B4. In that simple voice he had in Nemesis. Mm-hmm. And then Data comes back up. They talk to him a little bit. Data exhibits something we've never seen. Apparently, he got an R2-D2 upgrade. And shows a hologram of what it was they stole. And as the image refines itself, it's like it's a human. And we look at it, and it's not just a human. And then he keeps saying, Jean-Luc Picard.
Jean-Luc Picard.
Jean-Luc Picard. It is Picard's human body. And that is what they stole from Daystrom. And that's where that kind of leaves. And then the episode ends with, they show Riker on the Shrike, and Vadic's carrying him. He's like, listen, do you think I'm going to give up 35 years of loyalty over nothing, over my own safety or whatever? And she's like, no, not yours. And they open a cell, and sure enough, in the cell, Marina Sirtis playing Deanna Troi. We have them all. They're all on the board. And that's where the episode ends. So there's a lot to unpack there. But yeah, I there were a few things I want to kind of talk about. We could talk about a little bit in speculation. you know, I love the fact they brought Data Lore back in this whole thing. This is such a great way to bring Data back. I wish they had done it in season 1. I wish this is how they'd done it. You know, stuff like that. Let's kind of talk. Let's talk a little bit. Let's do this. Let's pay some bills. All right. So we're gonna beam up after this. We'll pay some bills here, and then we'll come back and really get into speculation. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
When toxic culture has you down.
When you're just looking to laugh and have fun.
Kick back and enjoy watching a video game.
Or just make some new friends.
It's time to visit the Geek to Geek Media Network,
a community of podcasters, streamers, and bloggers.
Well, more of a family than a community.
All dedicated to geeking out about the things we love. Things like
video games,
Star Wars,
comics,
movies,
K-pop,
Disney Plus,
Keanu Reeves,
new,
or whatever our community decides is the next best thing.
That's right. We have a great online community on Slack and Discord where we chat about our weekly geekery with listeners and viewers.
And each other.
Yep, and each other in real time, and we can't wait for you to join us.
So come check us out at geektogeekmedia.com.
and escape toxic fandom for something much more...
Keanu.
Yes, Keanu.
Scotty, beam me up.
Okay, beam me up. So let's do some speculating here. Because there's a lot. There was, like I said, again, I'm sorry that this recap went a little long, but I don't know anything we could have missed. Like, it all had something. I mean,
Right.
What did you think of the episode? I feel like I kind of rolled through that.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's a roller coaster ride, and I was out there screaming my fool head off.
I really, really, really enjoyed a lot of this episode. I hope it's this episode is kind of rare in that regard, I guess. Like, I am good with this episode being all this fan service type stuff. I really am. On a lot of levels. I'd like that. I will become, I think, slightly annoyed if this turns into entire fan service for the rest of the season. I think you bought a lot of fan service today. With this, I think you earned that. And now let's
get back to the story.
Yeah. Don't drop it in every time. We do not need, in the background to see a Millennium Falcon fly by or whatever. I'm cool with that.
They mentioned Starbucks somewhere in the episode.
Yeah. No, I think that was on Ready Room, wasn't it?
I thought it was in the episode.
No.
Maybe one of the security officers.
Something like that. So let's speculate a little bit. So, all right. So Picard's corpse, what do they want with it? Why is Picard's corpse more important than the portal weapon?
The only thing I can come up with is it has something to do with the final effects of the Irumodic syndrome.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can come up
that
with.
was kind of what I thought too. I think the Irumodic syndrome is if it's not, like, they spent a lot of time data dumping that today. That was a lot of exposition dumping on Irumodic syndrome. So there has to be a reason, because even when Picard was dying of it in season 1, we didn't get that much. So there is a reason it is there. I'm actually more of a mind that I can't help feeling that either the Irumodic syndrome is going to be playing a big role, but I'm more than ever, and again, I'm laying this down again, I'm doubling my bet. I do think that Jack Crusher is a hybrid. I think Jack Crusher is a hybrid between Picard and a faux Beverly. I think Beverly is a changeling. I think that she's been taken years ago, much like we saw with Martok. He was gone for, like, as I understand it, years.
Yes.
In DS9. So Beverly took his place because they started after Dominion War. They got themselves onto the flagship of the Federation, and because she was head of Starfleet Medical at that time.
Right.
So she's there. they never intended for crossbreeding. Her and Picard have a liaison, and she finds herself pregnant. This would be rare for a changeling, and maybe they think that the aromatic syndrome is what allows this. I don't know. The only other thing I could think about is that I think they mentioned it in season 1. I know they mentioned it in Best of Both Worlds, that they couldn't take everything Borg out of Picard. Like, there were parts of him that were still, that had Borg implants and stuff. And maybe they think that is how. But I am saying this aromatic syndrome, and that's the reason for his hallucinations. If that's the truth, that is shitty writing. That is, we're going to do hallucinations. No, we're not. And let's call it aromatic syndrome. We wrote ourselves into a corner. Whew, we got out of that one. I think he is much more important than just. I think he's a hybrid, and I think they need him to perpetuate the species, so to speak, or whatever. She says things like, in the beginning she was screaming about justice, unity, peace, hope. Unity. Well, you can't have unity if Jack Crusher is supposed to be a part of your quote-unquote collective. Right. So I really, really think Jack Crusher is, I think we're going to find out. I think they're going to find Beverly somewhere and, alive. I'm sure she'll be alive. I almost would rather her be dead. I think after 20 or 30 years, you kind of, how do you come back from that? But that's just my thinking. Yeah. So, any other thoughts on that? The Jack Crusher mystery?
Yeah, I think we're both going down the same path right now with that.
So, the question comes up then, moving on, the very ending, Deanna's in the cell. Is she the real one?
Right. I
think she is. They said in the beginning they're going to go after everyone Picard would go to.
Right.
Right. I think she has to be.
I think probably you're right.
Because again, it makes no sense for Riker to be the one to go hold them off instead of Worf, except to have again. Sometimes in these writers' rooms, they get to we want to have the episode where Riker is captured and he sees Deanna in the cell. And that's a real emotional moment. So how do we get there? Well, we'll have Riker go out and save everybody. And at no point does somebody go, yeah, but that makes no sense. So I fully believe it's her. I think it's her. Because otherwise, they could have done the same thing and, put Esri in there, which would have been cool. But, yeah, I think it's really Deanna Troi Riker. I hope the things we have heard in that, Marina Sirtis might be, the sacrificial lamb of this season. If somebody has to die, I do not want Deanna Troi to die. I want Troi and Riker to have the happy ending.
Yes.
So I hope that doesn't happen, but I do believe, and here's the thing, they could have the only reason I put it into speculation is the only thing that makes me think it could be a changeling. She didn't call him Imzadi. She said, well. And if she had said, Imzadi, then I'd be like, nope, that is 100% not a changeling. So I'm leaning toward it being the real one, though. I don't think they want to go too crazy with the changelings. And there's no reason to really, because it'd be easy enough, to find her.
Well,
so.
If it is a changeling, at some point they have to go find the real Deanna.
So, the other thing that came up, now, again, this is kind of fantastic. Did you notice it's quick. You're going to have to go back. You have to freeze frame. And I actually saw a video which showed this. If you freeze frame when they're walking through Section 31 area, there is a room that just has a window on it and it shows the skull. It shows a body, like a coffin with human remains in it. Did you see you didn't see the name on those human remains?
No, I did not see the name.
James T. Kirk.
Oh, jeez.
So now
because of course James Kirk is gonna have the Lenin statue and casket.
Well, you know what? If they put him there because they're saying Daystrom is like, there are certain captains, there are certain, people that we don't want to let anyone, grave rob or deface their grave. Like I could see because they had to probably go and grab the Enterprise DE off of Narinda 3. That I could see them, grabbing Kirk's body out of the cairn that they put him in. That's appropriate. Kirk should have a proper burial. And again, he was also in the Nexus. There very well could, that alone, like, why is James Kirk here? Why is James Kirk not 900 years old? And, he's freshly dead and he's been dead for 80 years. So it would make sense that Section 31 would take the body and, store it somewhere. Now, there are some people that are speculating like he's going to be the big surprise at the end. Is that, they're looking to try to find ways to clone, and we're going to see an old Will Shatner come out of mothballs at the end of this whole thing. Like, and I'm Captain Kirk. And again, here for it.
Or do we see the guy that's going to be Kirk in Strange New Worlds?
That would actually be cool. Yeah, I love that actor. He was fantastic. He did a great.
James Wesley, I think is his name.
Yeah, he was on like my wife's like girly vampire pussy show. So James T. Kirk was in a cocoon, and again, if for nothing else, I think they'd be saying, well, this is them taking, important people and hiding them away. So they're showing Section 31 does take bodies, which explains why Picard's is there. So that to me made some sense, especially because I want to talk about something. It was a throwaway line from Geordi's daughter to him, and I locked right onto it. She's like, at one point they're sitting there trying to come up with ideas, and she goes, "Well, Dad, what about Hangar Bay 12?" And Geordi shuts that shit down. He's like, no, don't even mention it. Don't even bring it up. So what do you think could be in Hangar Bay 12?
It could be anything from...
I have an idea of what it is.
The Delta Flyer to the time traveling captain's ship, Berlingoff Rasmussen's ship.
Nope. I think I know what it is. It makes it, given the fan serviciness. You know what I think it is? I think because again, they probably they had to recover the saucer section from Narinda 3. Was it Narinda 3? No, Narinda 3 was where they died in Enterprise C. What the hell was the name of the planet? Anyway, where the Nexus thing was. I think I have a strange feeling that all he would need is the bottom part. He would just need a drive section. What if Geordi LaForge grabbed the recovered remains of the Enterprise saucer and has been working on a Galaxy class Enterprise D exhibit for the museum?
That's gonna be a awfully big
Viridian 6. Thank you, yes. Alex. Yes, Alex is our first chatter tonight.
Hangar bay.
What's that?
That's gonna be an awfully big hangar bay for the.
It's in the space dock.
Galaxy ship. Yeah.
Space dock. They flew into the D flew into space dock. How many times? It's an old school space dock. They went out of their way to say it. I'm telling you right now. I think that's how this series ends. I think this series ends with our crew on the bridge of the Enterprise D. I really do. I think that's how they end this show. You have everybody, which means then again, I hope that she doesn't die. And I hope they bring Wesley back for that. Put Wesley in the driver's seat. He should be.
But which crew? Which our crew?
Our original OG6
or the next generation.
The next generation. We're going to talk about that next. But I think that's how you send this crew into the sunset, because that's really what this was about. Was and again, if this show ends any other way than their signatures flying across space, I'm pissed. By the way, you give them the same send off you gave the originals. I'm marking that down too. That's really what I want. Last episode, Patrick Stewart's name gets written across my screen. That's what I want. Legit, though. I think that's how they end the show. You've got Picard sitting in the captain's chair of the Enterprise D, Riker to his right, Troy to his left. You've got Beverly sitting in her little bench off to the side. Worf is standing at his. I think that's what everybody wants. And he has the out there that away moment. It warps away, and that's it. And they sign their names. That is the way to send this show off. That's why I think Hangar Bay 12 is going to come back. And I'm laying it down now. It's the Enterprise D.
Oh, yeah.
So that brings up the final thing and speculation. I want more than ever after this episode. I want the next generation. I don't know what you call it. I don't know if you call it Star Trek Legacies. I don't know what. But I want 7 in command of a legacy ship. I want the 2 LaForge sisters. I want Crusher Picard there, because I'm sure he'll change his name. Give me Morale Paris. Grab me a son of Nog so we can honor Aaron Eisenberg. Give me, Seela's escaped Romulus before it blew up. Give me her daughter so we have somebody touching Yar. Alexander Rozhenko, a version of Data. Bring Data's stupid daughter who can't act. Bring her back. I want to see that. That is the next, and I want them exploring. I want weekly stuff. I want Strange New Worlds type of adventures. But you could tell it with an adult viewpoint. I think that's I think that's on the board. I think we're really going to see something to that effect. I'd love to see them pull Morale Paris in. That would be great. But I mean, what about you? What do you think of that idea?
I mean, I'm there for it. I'm very much. I think they're gonna miss having another live action show.
Yeah.
I know Paramount is cutting back, but I think they're gonna miss with the hole that Discovery's gonna leave in the programming schedule.
Yeah. And that is 100% the truth, is that this and I think that's one of the reasons. Now I watched a few videos this weekend about Discovery, and yeah, I didn't realize that Akiva Goldsmith was mainly responsible for Strange New Worlds. This was Picard and Discovery were an Alex Kurtzman jam. And Alex Kurtzman, for me, not to get negative, is one of the worst things that's ever happened to Star Trek in the history of Star Trek. He had a lot to do with Into Darkness, which was one of the worst movies. Discovery has been totally off base since it started. The first 2 seasons of Picard were so tone deaf to be almost insulting. So, and what I'm hearing is that's why Discovery's been canceled, kind of, is that they had a 5-year commitment with Kurtzman, and they're basically going to try to find ways to edge him out because Akiva Goldsman, he's not much better. He has his issues. Okay, he is somewhat of a hack, but you know what? He's so much better than Kurtzman. He's at least getting to the heart of it. He bought a lot of goodwill with me with Strange New Worlds. That's the type of Trek I want to see. So I'm hopeful that we're going to see somebody else in charge. I mean, Terry Matalas is good too, but I think Terry Matalas is not a showrunner. I think Terry Matalas is a great executive producer. I think he's a good writer in a writer's room. But I think you do need somebody with a vision for this. I don't think Matalas has got it yet, but I think he could get there. I would like to see them. I think he could get there too.
I'd
like to see them put together a show with those people, where it is the kids of the Next Gen cast, and they're going on it, go and have wacky adventures, and you know what, and that's just it. Jack Crusher buys you a changeling. Even if he's not Crusher's daughter, Beverly's quote unquote Beverly's son, it buys you a changeling. You get a certain thing. Seela buys you a Romulan, which I think the next Star Trek show should have a Romulan crew member. We've always done that. They did it with DS9. You had a Ferengi, with Worf as a Klingon. We've always had that. I think you need that. So that's my hope. So let's kind of pivot off speculation, unless there's anything else you want to speculate on.
There's one thing I just want to mention real quick.
Sure.
The name that Data spouted off was Daystrom Android M510.
Okay.
Now, if you take 510 being nickel and dime, it becomes damned, DAMND. I wonder if that has anything to do with anything.
In other words, Spiner's like, I don't mind you doing this for now, but I'm not coming back. You're going to kill me again, right?
Yeah. I mean, it could be.
Yeah.
I when they spouted off that name, I had to try and find some meaning to it.
I'm not sure if there's anything there, or if it's just, I don't think they should kill Data again. I think because if you ever want to do anything with this crew, let's face it, the Soong crap they have to pull to get Brent Spiner involved, where he's always playing a version of Soong, which I have thoughts on that for speculation for another day, but ask me sometime about why I think all the Soongs look like Brent Spiner. In any event, I'm not sure about that. I think this is such an eloquent way to bring Data back in a way that fixes Brent Spiner's problem, which was, I am playing somebody that doesn't age, but damn it, I age. Right. And I don't want to pretend like I don't. And I don't want to sit in the makeup chair for 7 hours while you put gold stuff on me that it makes my skin itch. I think it's such an eloquent way to do it. I hope they don't waste it. But it's possible. I'm not going to say it's possible. I mean, again, I so want to see that scene of our crew back together for one last, run around the galaxy, or the solar system. Like, just it's such a great way to end it. And again, I'm going back to Star Trek 6. Let's kind of real quick pivot to companion watches because we're a little over. So yeah, there are a few we have to bring up. The first one being, obviously, you brought it up. Why don't you share the companion watches?
Well, for those that may not be as up on their data, you want to watch season 3, episode 16 of TNG. Episode is called The Offspring. It's where Data actually creates Lal, a daughter, and needless to say, she dies by the end of the episode. Spoiler alert,
right? For
something 30 years ago, but it really plays into the theme of creating, creating new life, and moving on.
Well, and at the end of it, it makes sense because he's always said, and they never brought it up again until now. At the end of that, he's like, Lal has been deactivated. Her positronic matrix couldn't handle it. They're like, we're sorry for your loss. He's like, oh no, there's no loss. She's here.
I downloaded her into me.
I downloaded all of her memories and her consciousness into my positronic matrix. She's always with me now. So I thought that was fantastic. And the fact that they brought her up, that Alton Soong brought her up, was really, really... Now, that showed Matalas actually did some homework. He must have watched that episode. I imagine Brent Spiner was like, watch these episodes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Another one to bring up, and it's actually one I brought up, is quite a few. I'm actually you brought up one. I said, forget about one. Here's the thing, guys. Yeah. You got to go watch Data Lore, Brothers, and the Season 6 cliffhanger and 7 premiere of Next Gen.
Descent.
Yeah. Basically, Data Lore was in Season 1. Brothers was in Season 3. Right near The Offspring, actually, if I'm not mistaken. And then they all introduce lore. Data Lore introduces where lore comes from. It brings him up as basically an evil Data, which was a really great concept, and I thought they handled that so well. The episode Brothers is how they kind of bring him back after that episode because he was kind of left up in the air.
They showed Noonie and Soong in that episode.
And you see Brent Spiner for the first time playing Soong, and he plays a Soong every time you see a Soong. And then Season 6, Cliffhanger, and 7, Lore comes back. He's heading up the Borg, and he gets deactivated. Though you really should follow all of those to kind of understand where we are going forward, because I think Lore... Listen, they show a lot of the images for next week show Brent Spiner in the brig. So they're going to lock him up because it's Lore. They have to. So I think we're going to be dealing with Lore. That is definitely something you want to watch. I'm going to mention this, not because you should watch it, because, God, you should not watch it. Oh, God, I hated this episode so much. I never watch it on a rewatch. I skip it every time. Phantasm, Season 7, Episode 6. Written by Brandon Braga. That should have told me everything I needed to know.
Yep.
And it's basically... Data has dreams. Don't get me wrong. This is the meme where we see Picard answering Data's phone in his chest. That's where we get this meme. I'm right? That's the same episode. Like,
I believe so, maybe.
Yeah, it's all wacky shit. Basically, Data starts giving. Yeah. We hears a rotary telephone, and Picard opens his chest to answer it. Like,
and it's an Asimov dude. Android's dream of sheep type thing.
Yeah, and I get what they were going for, but God, I hated this episode so much. I still do. But it's where the crows come in, if I'm not mistaken. So
I think you're right, yeah.
So, I mean, that's why I have to bring it up. Because another good Data family episode, Season 7 Inheritance, where we meet his mother. Yes! I didn't even think of that. Thank you, Alex. Yeah. That you are not wrong on that. Yeah, I've got to find out if the crows are in here. It doesn't say of the crow, but I really think this is where we saw the dream of the crows. But I knew it was important. But again, I can't pull it back with any clarity because, again, I think I've seen this episode literally twice in my life. Once when it first aired, and I think I fell into it one day while I was sleeping and woke up and it was on. I'm like, The crows are from Season 6, two-parter Birthright. That's right. Thank you. Thank you, Alex.
Okay.
So why do I have to bring this up then? Damn it. I hate bringing this episode up because I felt like a bad content creator today. I was like, I should watch that episode. I can't watch that episode. So
I need to watch that episode. Yeah. No, I don't.
All right. So the crows are from Season 6, two-parter Birthright. Okay. So definitely check those out. Alex, man, coming in clutch on us. You want a job? But definitely really enjoyed that. So that's kind of the companion watches. I mean, there's a few Geordi episodes I thought about including. Listen, go look up any episode with Geordi talking to a girl. You'll understand my point about him really valuing his family. Oh, by the way, hot take. I'm going to throw another hot take out there. He's not married to Leah Brahms.
No, he's not.
You know who I hope he's married to? And they used her. They used her for Lower Decks. Give me Gomez, baby. He went back to Gomez. Wow. I am shipping Geordi Gomez, man. This is it. I'm putting that down. I want Gomez. I want Geordi's wife to be Gomez. That's what I want.
They said in the ready room in the last couple minutes of the episode that the next week there's going to be another cameo.
I think that
if they even told us who the actor was that was going to be Will Wheaton's guest on the Ready Room, it'd spoil everything.
Right.
So who is it? Could it be Gomez?
I think he said he. I don't think he said he. I think he just mentioned guest. I'm thinking.
Could it be Denise?
It could be Gomez, or it could be Crosby. I think it's going to be Crosby. If they're going to bring Sela in, it would be now, because Worf's going to go and try to get to the chain. If it's not that,
I've got two other possibilities.
Nana Visitor,
or Avery Brooks.
I don't think they're going to do Brooks. I don't think Brooks will come and be a guest. I don't think Brooks would come and be a guest on Picard. I think if Brooks was going to do it, he'd want to be. And here's the thing, and nothing against the man politically or whatever. I think he's still a fantastic person, but as I understand, he went off the reservation a long time ago. So for them to work with him, he has some pretty high demands. I hear he's very hard to work with now.
I've heard that also.
So I would now Nana Visitor will show up for anything. She had one episode of Battlestar Galactica where she freaking owned it. I'm like, God, why are you dying? I still think it's going to be Crosby. I think this is where you bring her in. I think you have Worf. If it's not that, it could be Nana Visitor because Worf is going to go get the only other person who knows changelings.
Yeah.
And he's like, I need Kira Nerys to help me infiltrate this changeling thing. It could be her. I kind of am hoping for Crosby. I know it's Sela and it's not Yar. But I would love, or even better, Sela lied about her mother dying and she was captured on Romulus all those years. and so and then they're like, oh, if we had only known, luckily we got you off before the planet exploded. No.
No, they'd have found her when the planet exploded, or.
But I think it's probably more likely Nana Visitor. I think and that would make sense because because Worf's the one going after Riker, so Worf pulling in somebody from DS9 would make sense.
Ooh, Almini? Chief O'Brien?
O'Brien, that's a possibility too. I don't see what O'Brien would bring to the table though. Although put Molly on that ship of legacy characters. Put Molly on that ship too. I want my Molly. Either that or even Bashir. I could see Bashir. Alexander Siddig will do it. But the more I think about it, you might be right. I was originally leaning towards Denise Crosby, but I'm now gonna kind of, because he's like, Denise Crosby wouldn't really give away what's gonna happen. Nana Visitor would. Like Worf going out. Why? If he's like, we're gonna have Nana Visitor on next week, it's like, okay, so Worf's going to get Kira off DS9. Okay.
But at the same time, it being Denise Crosby would play up all the past press where she said she was going to be on it, and then Matala said, "No, you're not."
I think if they're
a wink, wink moment.
Yeah, and again, I'm all for these little nods and stuff. Don't go crazy. Like, okay, you had Ro last week. You had. Please, I do not want another legacy character dropping in. Like, tell me a story. I have my next gen crew now. Get them out, get Troy and Riker out of where they're at. And that's just it too. You can't keep them separate that much longer. You have bought some goodwill, but we need the 7 of them together soon. All right, you absolutely require it. For this to really feel good, and it's going to happen. They're all going to go together to Frontier Day. I mean, I think it makes more sense that he's going to go get Kira. Kira's going to help him. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some questions I have, like, why did they beam onto the ship? Why did they beam onto the Titan? So what the hell happened to the Cerritos? And then if the Cerritos is then in the docking bay, why did you beam on? Like, where, and now Worf's going to leave. Is he going on the Cerritos? Where the hell was the Cerritos?
Right.
But in any event, that's kind of it. So that's kind of what we're talking about tonight. That's going to kind of do it for us. We've only got one more big news. Strange New World Season 3 is beginning to film in May. I love that. There was some thought that Season 2 might be it, given this whole Paramount Plus is making a bunch of cuts. But no, Season 3, I think they know what they've got. I think they know that Strange New Worlds is where they need to take it. And I think we're going to see, moving away from this mystery box type of format where you have one large mystery and everything's so serialized, to much more of an exploration, Planet of the Week, but tell a through story through the season, which Strange New Worlds seemed to balance really well, and DS9 did for 6 seasons.
Very much so.
So that's awesome. We had some birthdays and stuff. We'll get them in when we have time if we do. But I don't know about you. We're at an hour and 22, so let's I think we should close our hailing frequencies and get on out of here. What do you think?
Let's go do it.
All right, let's hit it.
Hailing frequencies closed, sir.
Okay, well, as we warp out of this sector, we want to remind you that where you can find us online. First, you can download the show on most podcatchers, Google, Apple, etc. I haven't gotten it on all of them yet. I'm working on that. Or just go to podcast.yourfatherstrekpodcast.com, and you can find our show there. Likewise, if you have an Apple iPhone or use iTunes, you could really help the show out a great deal by just going there and leaving us a 5-star review in Apple iTunes. It really, really will help. We're a new show. There's nothing that brings, that brings more eyes to the show than that. Leaving those reviews really helps us get ourselves noticed by the Apple algorithms. So please go there and leave a 5-star review. If you don't like the show, dear God, don't go and review it. As a new show, this, like I said, it does a lot. So the link for that, if you don't have an iPhone, you can use your computer. You'll have to download iTunes, but the link for that is on our Anchor page. So again, podcast.yourfatherstrekkpodcast.com.
And you can also like our YouTube channel and subscribe at youtube.com/@yourfatherstrekkpodcast and follow our Facebook at facebook.com/yourfatherstrekkcast.
Yeah, we still can't change that yet. We have a website that's actually coming up. I'm doing a little bit of stuff here and there. I'm trying to make it more usable. I'm using a free GoDaddy page, so, there's only so much I can put there. yourfatherstrekkpodcast.com. Go check it out. And if you want some great gaming content for Marvel Snap, occasionally Minecraft and other stuff, hey, I would love it if you wanted to give me some eyes over at my Twitch, Old Man Gamer NY. I'm there on Twitch and YouTube. Just look up Old Man Gamer NY. I'll be probably doing some Marvel Snap content this weekend.
And if you'd like to write us, you can send an email to will@yourfatherstrekkpodcast.com or email me at jp@yourfatherstrekkpodcast.com. Or you could just leave a comment in our live chat.
Absolutely. So that, my friends, is going to do it. That's going to do it for us this week. We'll be back next time, hopefully with some cool outro music. Well, actually, we have it already. I need to remove that from our script. You know what? We're going to take that again. All right, well, here we go. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. We're going to be back next time. And JP and I will be talking about Episode 7, as well as any other great Star Trek news that comes up. Special thanks for Alex to hanging out in the chat tonight. So for JP and myself, thank you for listening, watching, and hanging. And make sure you tell your friends about the show. So for JP, this is Will saying we'll see you out there next time. That away. And stop recording. All right. I will export this file. Thank you very much for hanging, Alex. That was kind of cool. We had a guy hanging the entire night.
Absolutely. That's the guy that I sent you the email text.
Ah, very cool. Very cool. So this is gonna go.
So I had a little glitch. I stopped recording our audio for about 4 minutes.
Ugh.
When we were typing about Kirk in the cocoon.
Okay. Did you talk at all?
I am not sure if I did or not.
I'll try to pull the audio from this. I might pull it,
sorry.
but still send it to me. But because I'd still rather use our audio than, because I mean the stream audio is okay, but I can't do any editing, so it's going to be exactly as it is. This is episode 5. WB Sounds. All right. Exporting my project. Yeah, didn't mean to go so long, but how do you not? Like there's just a lot to unpack.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get it together. We're still noodling things. I got to work on that outro. It still doesn't flow. It doesn't feel right. As it is, I'm really trying to figure out how the intro is going to go. I forgot the Geek to Geek Media stuff.
Oh. Yeah. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Why would
okay. I don't know. I clicked on a window and suddenly it sounded like you stopped talking. So I'm like, what's going on here?
That sucks. I just got a text. He's not getting the kidney. He needs to go through dialysis, I guess. His potassium was elevated. But that means that when he finishes with dialysis, the kidney isn't going to be viable anymore. So, shit.
File unreadable.
That sucks. Oh, that makes me upset. I got to go talk to my son.
Oh.
I got to go up and talk to the boy.
All right.
Yeah, but otherwise we're good. Saving the project. Yeah, just drop it in the Google. I got to go deal with this.
Yeah.
But yeah, and hey, if you want to try to get some snap in, man, let me know. How's your collection coming?
Let's see. I just today completed Pool 2, started in on Pool 3. I think I'm collection level 506.
That's not bad.
So
yeah. So we can get some games in though.
Rank 55.
Oh, that's not bad. Yeah, you're probably not going to hit infinite until you can pull in. You got to figure out what you want to do, and then what you're going to focus your tokens on.
I've been having some good luck with my move deck.
Yeah, but once you start getting into meta, like the move becomes less. Right now, well, you had the perfect one. Like there was the location they were giving you this week with the, if you play a 3-drop, it's going to pull it. I was like, oh, that's going to, and I tried to play a move deck. I wasn't winning with it. So, I mean, I'm playing a version of Thanos that's, post nerf. This nerf did not touch Sherry. Sherry is still 100% viable. I'm just not playing her because that's how I ranked up, and damn it, I'm bored. And Galactus is still hotness. But yeah, I mean, so I'm playing those. I'm trying to come up with I'm starting to play around with some of the interactions. But yeah, guys, I'm going to stop the stream a little early as far as post-show shenanigans because I do have to deal with some family stuff. Thank you all for watching. Again, thanks for hanging, Alex and stuff. Tell your friends, share this out, and have a good one.